Okay, and we are live. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming to Black Comics Chat. It's your boy, Thelonious Legend in the house. Marcus, Leo, and Grace are in an undisclosed location, but it's cool. We holding it down. We got one of our fabs coming in to, make sure that we stay on point. That's the Blurred Girl. But before we get started, we have somebody that's doing mad work out there on the East Coast, starting his own Comic Fest. If you haven't heard, you're about to hear now. His name is Naseed Gifted. You heard me right. Naseed Gifted, and we about to get into it with him tonight, along with a bunch of other topics. But first, Naseed, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, peace, everybody. Hey, thank you, Thelonious, for having me on the show and everything. I very much appreciate it. And hey, we appreciate the work that you're doing out there, and actually the Black Comics Chat. Once again, my name is Naseed Gifted. I am one of the founders. I am the founder of Chem Comic Book Fest, which is a Black comic book festival, which we focus on people of color, and we have a nice goal where we actually are trying to promote STEM and literacy and connecting the two. So when we talk about STEM, we talk about STEAM, actually, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And the festival pretty much came up out of an idea. You know, I had to speak to the elders. Shout out to Yummy and them at East Coast Black Age of Comics, ECBOC, where I spoke to them and just tried to get the
dope crew. That's a dope crew.
Yeah, I had to get the sanction to before I even went to do this. Because I had an idea that we wanted to do something in New Jersey. Most of the stuff that generally happens is in New York, Philadelphia, and all other major metropolitan areas. But I saw a little niche where we could take the opportunity to introduce particularly the Black community to comic creators and artists, and also be able to tie in STEM and use it as a platform to promote literacy. So that's pretty much where everything stimulated from.
And that is so dope. And I definitely want to get into the STEM dynamic of it, because I think more kids of color need to be involved in STEM. But before we go any further, we also got the Blurred Girl on. And anybody that follows Black Comics Chat, I know follows the Blurred Girl. She's been at the forefront of making sure quality comics getting read and raising a platform to dope artists. Blurred Girl, thanks for coming on. Tell us what you've been up to.
What's up, man? I've been busy. Since the last time I was here, I launched my YouTube channel, and it's just been like, it's tough and I'm really excited about it. It's been well received, but I feel like all this pressure now to get like really quality content up there, and because my day job as an editor, I think I might be making it too difficult for myself. But I promise that I will be getting more content up there shortly. I have a series of interviews from the Schomburg, from Black Comic Fest. I have a few more of those coming. I also was invited by Allstate to go to Amalgam Comics and Coffee last month to be on a panel that was basically celebrating.
Allstate. Hold up. It sounded like you said Allstate.
It is what I said.
I think she said that too. I'm writing it down like Allstate. Wow.
So we just gonna start name dropping early up in the chat, man. So I just want you cats to know what's going down like that.
Yeah, it's official.
Allstate did a campaign during Black History Month called Worth Telling, #WorthTelling, and who's by a train? My goodness.
That will be me. I'm gonna mute my mic for a second.
Basically, they were honoring Amalgam Comics and Coffee owner and creator Ariel Johnson, and myself, Len Webb of the Black Tribbles, and Maurice Waters of I Am Black Sci-Fi were all invited to be in a panel to not only honor her, but to talk about comics and state of Black comics and things like that. It was at the very end of the month, so I'm still working on that video, but it will be out this weekend, I promise. Just so many videos and so many things going on. And also, I'm on a panel actually at Khemfest that you just mentioned. I'm hosting a Women in Comics panel there, and then the following weekend on the 25th, I'm I was on another panel at Women in Comics up in the Bronx. So March is busy.
Nice. You took my breath away, man. I'm tired from just listening to that, man.
Yeah.
So I
this
mean,
woman has a serious busy schedule. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but what's dope about that is you're making moves and you're blowing up, and it couldn't happen to a better person. I say that honestly, because as far as a woman of color that's been at the forefront of bringing, visibility and notoriety and exposure to well-deserved artists, I put you up there with Jamie Broadnax of Black Girl Nerds.
Oh wow, that's all. I mean, I want to be her when I grow up, so that's very,
Yeah,
that's very nice.
But I'm just saying, I mean, how many people can you count with your platform that's doing it like that?
I'm trying, and it's also about trying to really shed a light on a lot of the indie artists of color and having these conversations about diversity and inclusion and mainstream versus indie, and just try, because there's a lot of really great artists out there that I don't think that many people know about. You know me, if I can shine a light on that's my goal.
in an intelligent way, in an adult way. So a lot of times you got a lot of these fanboys in comics. The conversation devolves into something that's a pie fight, and I don't like to get caught up in all that. So
oh yeah, I had one of those pie fights this week.
we're gonna get into that. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that. I just tweeted your article. So
okay, great.
Right, but before we go any further, I want to talk to my man Naseed Gifted. I can't say that name enough. Naseed.
And that's his real name. That's what's
Yeah. Most people think it's Gibson or Gitson or something else other than Gifted. So
dude, I love your parents. It was like this baby got a choice but to be dope.
Because he's gifted.
So Naseed, tell us about how you got into comics. What was like your gateway comics, and a little bit about your background. I know you did some engineering, but now you're in education. Can you tell us about the evolution of your path, how you got, where you started and where you are now, and what took you there?
Well, I mean, I think it all comes with, as a young man trying to find yourself and looking for mentors and everything. So I was a blurb living in the hood. Didn't know what I was, but that's what I was. I was into science, math, technology, and I was on the name wasn't going back then. So that's what I was a part of. And you try to fit in, but certain things just didn't resonate with you. So I was the guy who loved Saturday morning cartoons and martial arts flicks. That's what I kind of grew up watching, and then that moved into comics. And I pretty much read Spider-Man, X-Men, and then Black Panther. Those were my childhood comics of choice, and kind of was able to relate to some of the stories that was going on with them, as well as what was going on with the Black community. And in hindsight, not really fully understanding everything because I didn't have enough knowledge of self, but was able to identify with some of the struggles that were going on in the comic book world.
Right. And Blur Girl, what was your gateway comic? Look at you. What comic book was like, wow, I'm going back to the store?
Well, what's really interesting, because I got into comics by way of animation because my brothers were into comics and they were geeks, and I, I was the only girl, so I couldn't do what my brothers did because ew. So but I was like on the slide, like looking at stuff and reading stuff. But the comic that did it for me, actually, I saw somebody at school with it, and I went to like an all-white school, and so see somebody reading a comic book with a Black woman on the cover, I was like, whoa, what is happening?
Because there's not a lot of them.
No, it wasn't. It was the Spider-Man Annual number 16, and it was Monica Rambeau.
Oh,
and when she made her first appearance, and she was on. Well, there's a cover that is him, but there's an alternate cover that's her, and she has like white and her arms are out or whatever, and you see almost like these wings, and it's sort of like a silhouette, but she's got an afro, and I'm like, I don't know, in high school, like, what are you reading? And when I could get that book away from him fast enough, and then I was like, okay, I gotta go find this book. And because I'd never seen any comics with any Black folks in them besides some of the basic characters like Luke Cage and things like that. But here's a sister who was like, yeah, what? No, like she started that story. That was her first introduction, but she was already had her powers, and she was like, what's good? Yeah, Peter, what? I don't need you. Like some guys start to attack her, and she was like, yeah, I don't need your help. I'm all right. Who are you? And his spidey sense is tingling and everything because he thinks like she might be a villain or something, but he was sensing her powers or whatever. Now they didn't do Monica right in the comic, and in fact, if there's Monica Rambeau has had so many names, it's insane. But one of the things that people forget is that she was the second Captain Marvel. Everybody tries to give that to Carol Danvers, but I'm like, yeah, no. Basically, it was Marvel who was Kree, and then it was Monica who became part of the Avengers, and they give her that name. And people forget that all the time.
Class tonight. Everybody there's gonna be a test later.
But I was so excited that this sister was part of the Avengers and she was Captain Marvel. And then it's so funny because like later after college or whatever, whenever I bring stuff up, it was like collective amnesia. No, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, I did. I remember. Yeah,
so I remember the whole Marvel Kree storyline, and they got into it with like the Skrulls and the Fantastic Four, and I never knew what came from that, but Marvel, she was always one of my.
Well, what came out of that storyline is Captain America died the first time because it was the Skrull, the end of the Skrull invasion was Captain America getting shot in the gut.
Oh,
and
now you remember the first Captain Marvel that died of cancer? You remember that?
Oh no, that's Captain Marvel. Yeah, I meant Captain America, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, that's the difference, and so that's to me that was the difference between Marvel and DC as far as storylines.
Yeah, they had a deeper. They definitely had deeper storylines.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. And I think that's what resonated with me too with Marvel. You know, the DC family just pretty much had they were just super for the most part.
They were square-jawed alpha males, right? I mean, they were Mad Men, Don Draper, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then when Marvel basically launched the first nerd, which was Spider-Man. This was a kid that was getting beat up and literally getting his lunch money taken. I was like, well, I identify with him more than I do with Batman.
Yeah.
So I think that's when you see a separation of big too.
Yeah, and then also I think Marvel also kicked it up. Like in the 90s, the whole X-Men Chris Claremont run, that was legendary. That was when a lot of us were like, this is it. This is it. These are the books. This is what you read. Yep. But the writing was different then. The writing was more like that. Well, that's what made Chris Claremont's run so amazing, was because he was giving these people real problems and real relationships and real issues. And
Tony Stark was an alcoholic. I mean,
right. Well, Tony Stark was like, when I speak to people who are anybody between the ages of, I feel like late 20s, early 30s, all knows Rhodey as the first introduction as Iron Man, because it was in the 90s that Tony was too drunk to use the suit. He was an alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like another misstep, like trying to take him out in the movies or whatever. It's like, come on, guys. They did the same thing with Green Lantern, though. Remember when they made
John Stewart?
Well, because John Stewart was created by Dwayne McDuffie, but they didn't put him in the movies. They put Hal Jordan, and then they cast Deadpool.
Yep.
As the actor that's playing Deadpool. They cast him, and kids were confused. They're like, but Green Lantern's black. I'm confused. But here's the thing about the Green Lantern Corps, which is why I don't understand why we haven't had a good Green Lantern movie. It's a corps. It's not just one guy. Like, they could go anywhere, and they could have
that last Green Lantern movie. I'm still mad at that. I mean, I'm like,
oh yeah, no, we're all it didn't. No. What Green Lantern movie? That didn't happen. We're just gonna act like it didn't happen.
I'm like, who made this, and why would you make this?
Well, my problem is somebody co-signed on it. That's what the issue is. So, you know, you could make it, but somebody else got a cosign on it and then put it out there, and you know, and they all came to agreement that this was a good movie.
Yeah, there was a meeting. Like money was spent, time and energy spent. You know,
and what was the
like,
director was like, yeah, that's a good take. Let's keep the cameras rolling. I'm
Yeah,
like, there was like
exactly.
no good takes in that movie. You know what I'm saying?
you.
But I don't want to, you know, I don't want to bring DC down because there's, I mean, they don't need my help for one. And I'd rather use this time to promote other cats. And Naseed, you got a comic fest coming up. What's you a little bit about that and how that got started?
Well, that's going to happen on March 18th. And I mean, it just pretty much stimulated from my idea. I actually participated in a lot of the Black comic book festivals that's going on around the country, you know, especially the one at the Schaumburg, the Black Comic Book Festival. That's been one of highlights. And then, of course, I actually started with ECBOC about 8 years ago. I went to ECBOC and when it was at Temple University. And that was when I first kind of got into comics as far as developing my own product. But that was during my research time. And I went to ECBOC just to see what was out there, you know, just to get an idea of, you know, what everyone was producing. And I ran into, you know, brothers like Machindo and a bunch of other, you know, dope artists that's out there. And I just told myself one day I'm, you know, going to be able to work with these individuals and you know, make some things happen. And, you know, 8 years later, here I go on the third year of our own comic book festival, which has been growing tremendously. We have an awesome lineup of individuals, and the one thing that I do like that we're doing is besides, you know, introducing the community to so many different artists, Black artists, is we're working on, you know, like career readiness aspect of it, and also addressing the literacy issue and how we could use this as a tool to promote literacy. So I mean that's the part that I'm even more proud of than just, you know, just being able to get the whole community together to be able to see this thing manifest.
And so what made you decide to use basically comics as a entryway into teaching kids about STEM? I think that's dope, and I don't know why more people don't do it. So what makes you come up with that concept?
Well, I mean, I look at how we are educated as adolescents. When we first introduced to words, we're introduced to words through images, you know, and then somewhere through middle school and everything, we kind of take that away, and then stuff becomes very abstract. And then being that it's abstract, people cannot connect with it or relate to it or develop what we call a mental model. So being that they can't do that, then, you know, you have a disconnect with it. So just being able to take that same, you know, rudimentary way of teaching individuals and then infusing that back in. So now other individuals can, or, you know, young people as well as adults can be able to connect with the material that you are putting in front of them.
Now, you know what, I'm going to jump in here real quick because Naseed's like leaving a large part of his origin story out. Naseed, don't you kind of have something to do with teaching STEM, possibly?
Yes.
That's a leading question, Your Honor.
Yes. I do. I'm actually was a math teacher for 7 years, as well as a robotics coach. And I'm the vice principal over the pre-engineering academy in a high school in Newark, New Jersey. So yes.
Yeah, he's just like leaving. He's like leaving that out.
Ooh, leaving that out.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a part of the extended resume.
Like robotics.
Yeah, only thing you put on your resume is robotics coach.
Yeah,
and your email address. Yeah, just put robotics coach on your resume and your email address, and you set for life. That's like so. And I don't want to get too much into robotics and the aspect of it, but I'm a nerd too, and I do STEM in the daytime too, and I'm so intrigued by that. Mm-hmm. But you also on top of doing Khemfest, you have your own comic that you say is a vehicle to teach kids about STEM. Can you tell us a little bit about your comic, the backstory, the characters, and where you plan on taking it?
Well, it's set in the near future where we live in a world where everyone is considered a terrorist, and the main character, PB Soldier, is one of the world's top hackers, and because of his hacking ability, has just been labeled one of the top terror threats in this world. So he has to go underground and work off of the books for the newly formed world government called the Establishment. As he goes through his training, he sees visions of a life that's not of his own, which actually
So what does
parallels.
his training consist of? When he says he goes, is it physical training, is computer hacker training? Or?
Well, he goes through a physical training, and they train him to be an assassin, to take out individuals who are anti-establishment, because that's what he's doing. So he has information that he has access to, but he's not. He's still decoding his world, right? So he's while he's decoding his world, he's actually seeing visions from a past that he doesn't know too much about because he lacks knowledge of himself. So as he navigates through the world, he's actually unveiling a lot of aspects of what's going on with the establishment, and is looking to see where, the crossroads of where he needs to intervene and make a choice if he's going to work for the establishment or form a organization of his own to go against the establishment.
So is that an allegory for something? Are you trying to get to a point, or is it just that's the way the storyline came together?
Well, we are going to a point where we have actually set this up for a 13 episode arc. And then we have a alternate universe that goes on after that, once we finish with the 13 episode arc. So we definitely have a end point with that, but each story kind of builds on itself. And just through my field in education and everything, and then doing various talks, I saw the need to reach out and getting feedback from different fans and stuff, how to infuse the STEM into the comic more. So we did a Kickstarter last August, which was successful, which you guys helped promote it, where we actually launched our third episode, which will be out hopefully the end of this month, if not early April. So those fans who are still looking for their Kickstarter stuff, the physical copies that you bought into as far as rewards will definitely be out by early April. So we're working towards that.
And when you say episodes, you're not talking animation, you're talking comics, right?
Yes, we're talking comics, but just from a writing standpoint, I always wrote it as if it was a episode or animation, because that was ultimately where we wanted to go with the actual storyline. And
who's your artist?
Our artist is Abel Garcia. Actually, Mashindo Kumba actually did our character art, but the actual page or book artwork that you see is done by Abel Garcia.
Got it. Okay.
So where will we know Mr. Garcia's work outside of PB Soldier?
Well, he's international. He's from Barcelona, Spain. So he actually worked on a couple of DC lesser title topics. I would throw that out in the chat there. But he's actually worked on a couple of those pieces, as well as some other independent works that he's working on right now too. But PB Soldier has actually been one of the main titles that he's worked on as far as being accredited to.
Okay.
So I guess my question, you talked a little bit about your background, about you're from the urban environment, urban community, and there really wasn't a place for you. I think a lot of people of color that read comics could identify with that. When did you come to the self-realization, like, this is it, this is me, this is what defines me, and I'm not going to let, I guess social constructs or social norms define who I am and what what I like? Was that college? Was that after college, or when did that?
That was actually after college, because most people get bought into a career or something that, you need to go to college, you need to build this whole thing. And then you have these desires and these dreams that you wanted to do, but they kind of fall to the wayside because you want to live out what we call life and, get your career job, get 2.2 kids, your white picket fence and the house and everything. So that was the journey that I was on initially. And then
it's a trap.
The whole rat race, So,
right.
I started off with that, and then as I got older and I actually had my own children, and I actually took my son to see Incredible Hulk, and after we saw Incredible Hulk, I started talking to him about superheroes and everything, and superheroes, and my son knows about Malcolm, Martin, Heru, all of this stuff, and the only thing he could name was characters that majority was, well, not majority, all of them were white characters, nobody that looked nothing like him. Right. So it kind of set up a spark within me to be able to say, okay, instead of getting angry, I need to do something about it. And that's kind of like where PB Soldier was born. So I had this little seed kind of birthed out of college where we had a clothing line and everything. And the logo was actually the face of PB Soldier with the, with the eye and with the target. The target was actually, a lot of people look at it as a target on his face, but it was actually looking outward, to the world. So we actually took that logo and created a storyline and character around it, and that's where the research and what was out there and kind of build the brand and build the storyline from there, kind of birth from.
So, Lord Grow, same question to you. You as a woman of color, I think the journey of self-discovery might be more challenging because growing up, I didn't see any women of color, reading comic books. I don't know if it's because they were afraid of the feedback they were going to get, or it's a disparate group and there wasn't a lot. I guess there wasn't a critical mass for us. So how about your journey getting into comic books and coming into this creative space where you basically work with a lot of these, top-notch artists?
Well, what's interesting is even outside of the comic book space, Black women, we show up and nobody thinks we know anything anyway. That's not just limited to comics. That's unfortunately, that's just life.
And I'm kind of glad you brought that up because I'm actually writing a blog post about that next week that I'm gonna post. I'm gonna hit you up with just some of my observations. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
No. It's fine. It's no, for a long time. It's funny where I lived. There was not, because I grew up like out in Jersey and it was the suburbs, and there wasn't like a comic book shop. You would see some comics like at the drugstore, at like certain like shops that carried other things, but they were like Archie and stuff like that. They weren't like Captain America, Iron Man, stuff like that. I had to go into the city to get that. So I didn't actually get to go to comic book shops until later. And then I was like, I don't want to be here anymore, because for either people were talking to me like I was an idiot, or they were having a conversation with the front of my shirt, so it was like, I don't need to do this. And I tell this to people all the time when people say like, oh, well, you really need to buy more printed comics and digital comics. It just goes back to those days being followed around the store either because I was Black or because I was a woman, and B, just it's easier to like buy things digitally. But I get it why we need to pre-order and we need to go into the stores. Luckily now it's not so strange. It's not so strange within geek communities. I don't actually get that question. I'm not really questioned anymore when I go into comic book shops. I'm ignored sometimes. I'm not questioned. Like I literally have to sometimes pick up an omnibus to get somebody's attention. But I don't feel like I'm not being condescended to or whatever. I'm just being ignored because I'm a Black person, which isn't much better. But where I feel it is, and I've been doing a lot of observations lately outside of the comic book community, because one thing that people don't realize is that any community, comic book community, artist community, designer community, even editing community, if you only are talking to your own people, you can get very myopic. So I've been going to, like, when I was at Amalgam a few weeks ago, it was very interesting because the bookstore is full of Black comics, Latino comics, comics with Asian characters. Like, it's a very diverse space. It's an amazing space. If you ever get to Philadelphia, you got to go. But it was interesting watching what just general lay people who were coming in for a cup of coffee or coming in just to browse, what they went to, what you and I would say, oh, this is an amazing comic, you have to read that. They were gravitating to maybe things that I wouldn't think mainstream would be looking at, you know? So I think what's interesting is when I talk to people about comics that aren't necessarily or don't consider themselves geeks or comic book geeks, they are the ones that look at me like, but wait, you're like a grown-up. Like, you're grown. Why are you still doing this? And it's very, very funny. And then I still have women read comic books. I actually had a conversation with a brother right outside the doors of New York Comic Con last year. It was a brother that was working there. He's like, I love seeing sisters out here. Like, I thought only brothers like comics. Like, I was having this conversation the other day and I can't even name any Black female superheroes. I'm like, yeah, I know, but there's the internet. You know, it's like, why? You know, so although I like being a resource, sometimes I'm like, come on, like, everybody has Google, everybody has Marvel Wiki and DC Wiki. Maybe I don't know what it is. I don't know. But
so I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
No, so I was that made me think of an idea that, and I want to know how many other creative people do this. And so I'm asking you, Naseed. So when you're doing like your characters, do you ever go to, you know how like Marvel, their wiki page has pretty much like the power, strength, and all that index of like all their characters?
No, I don't.
You don't? All right, so I must be the only one. I must be the only one. So
I mean, not when I'm looking to create my own characters. Right. I've done that for their characters, but not like when I was doing my research, I wanted to not, you know, do something that they were doing. So I tried to like just separate myself and actually read different genres of literature and stuff to kind of just separate myself and hopefully have something that's unique, you know, even though they said there's nothing new under the sun, you know, because everyone's going to compare whatever you put out to something else. So I understand that.
I think this is where where my intersection might have filtered from the axis, because I'm also like a sports guy and I love the NFL Combine. I love watching, you know, cats run a 40, do the vertical jump, and to me, like the Marvel Wiki and all these, to me that's like a comic book combine. And so it kind of is. And so when my biggest pet peeve about comic books, and this is somebody coming from a sports parlance, you always know who's the baddest. Like the New England Patriots has been the best team for like the last decade. So there's not going to be a lot of days that the Cleveland Browns could beat them. And so when Iron Man fights like another hero, whether it's Captain America or whether it's Spider-Man, somebody needs to be like the toughest, right? I hate to see comic book fight in a draw. I was like, that's not realistic. You know, if Mike Tyson was going to fight like a novice fighter, he would win.
Right.
So that's my biggest pet peeve about and that's one of Stan Lee's golden rules. They all have to, you know, all fights up in the draw. But I'm like, man, and so again, the Blur girl read my book, and so I'm just like, well, she's like the baddest. That doesn't mean she's the best, but when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, you can't get with her, right? And so I just like that coming from a sports background. I did sports coming up, and you know, if you do like wrestling or boxing, the first thing you do is go look at your bracket and see who you matched up against. Right? And so when I'd be all up in the Marvel's notes. So maybe I shouldn't be sharing that, but you know.
No. You good. Because I mean, we did the same thing with the, like Dragon Ball Z and everything. Where who's better, Goku or Piccolo or Vegeta or something like that. So it's always something.
So is Dragon Ball Z still on?
Yes, it is.
Very much so.
Is.
There's competitions around the world for it still. Yes.
So I think I stopped watching like after 2 or 3 years because all the fights were insane. I mean, they were destroying planets. I'm like, man, this is
definitely.
But
it's not going to be good anime if a planet isn't destroyed. Like I'm an anime fan. And people, it's really funny because people always come to me with like, oh, so you like Sailor Moon? I'm like, no, and I don't have anything against Sailor Moon. It just doesn't do it for me. Like I need. So
do you like Claymore? Claymore was one of my favorites.
Claymore was all right. I needed her to have more clothes on, but it was all right.
But that's typical Japanese anime, right? They're
a lot of it is, but I'm a mecha kind of person, like a Gurren Lagann kind of like destroy the planets, but with large machines. No, and listen, I'm not knocking the scantily clad thing because basically, yes, that is a genre specific thing for anime. Just Claymore in particular, I'm like, this is physically impossible. Like what you're doing.
Yeah,
that was hysterical. But I'm also a fan. It was, but I'm also a fan of things like with storylines, like Moribito. If you're a writer, you've got to watch Moribito because that is like
you gotta tweet some of this out, or I'm gonna have to get back with you later.
I'll tweet some of it out. But I was gonna bring that back around to like Moribito is a story about a female bodyguard. She's basically like Ronin. She's kind of Ronin because she doesn't have a house to, to protect anymore. So she loans out her services, and she ends up having to protect a prince who is supposed to be king, but literally the queen has her come to the palace and in the shadow of night and secrecy is like, take my child and protect him. They're trying to kill him because basically the dynasty is trying to be overthrown. And she's like, he's the last of the bloodline. You must protect him. And basically that's the story of them escaping through the countryside, and there's magic and there's all kinds of other things, but it's not like she herself doesn't possess any magic. But then the magical stuff I do get into, like Full Metal Alchemist. Like,
I watched that.
Yeah, that was.
I'm heavy into Ghost in the Shell, though. Oh, the actual.
I like
the actual series version.
Yes, anime. Yes,
I love that for the storyline and everything.
Yeah, and yes. Go ahead.
Well, what I was gonna say, Blurred Girl, you actually wrote something that touched on Ghost in the Shell. You want to give us some background on that, how that started, and what's going on with that right now?
Yeah, basically, I was minding my own business and, kind of scrolling through my Twitter feed when a conversation came up, and I'm trying to think, was this Monday? Was this Sunday? When was the 5th? Let me think. Saturday. Okay. So, and a young lady by the name, and I could be pronouncing this wrong, forgive me if I am, named Asikin Haron. She's a 21-year-old artist from Singapore, but she's also the creative director of Geeks of Color. I don't know if you guys know the website Geeks of Color. Mm-hmm. So she happened to get into a conversation with Finn Jones, who's the actor on playing Iron Fist, playing Danny Rand.
He's the Knight of Flowers.
Yes, the Danny Bland. So basically, the funny thing is their conversation, as far as Twitter goes, their conversation was actually very cordial. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't really intense or crazy or anything. But 2 hours later, he logged off of Twitter. Now the sad thing is, unfortunately, Asikin, AZ as everybody calls her, was blamed for him leaving. And it was completely false because he talked to, clearly there's millions of people on Twitter, not just her, and other people were talking to him as well. So I think just to give you some backstory, the whole thing started, and it had nothing to do with her, how it started. Finn Jones was tweeting out a speech that he made a comment on Riz Ahmed's speech.
Right.
And Riz Ahmed is I believe he's of Pakistani descent that was in Star Wars Rogue One. He was the one. He was the one that was captured by Forrest Whitaker's character, and was sort of like his brain was kind of scrambled there for a minute. And he gave a speech in front of Parliament because he's British about diversity and what people forget. He's basically saying, forget about diversity. We need representation, because what's been happening in Hollywood and even in England, which is weird because I always think British television is so much more diverse than here, and they're over there protesting that they can't get movies either. So it's crazy. But he was basically saying that, and his speech, if you get a chance, I actually linked it in the post that I sent out. I'm going to post it again. Is that basically we have to stop having these conversations about like, oh, we have a woman, oh, we have a Black guy, oh, we have an Asian guy. You know, it is diverse. And he was basically going in depth as to having people behind the scenes and things like that. He really was like going in. The thing that happened was Finn Jones basically highlighted a Twitter post that Riz Ahmed made about representation and linking to his own speech. And Finn said representation is important, and here's why. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with his tweet. Finn Jones was absolutely right. Representation is important, and we should be listening, and everybody should be listening to that speech.
He was the best person to make that argument.
Exactly. That was the problem. It's not the message. It was the messenger. And basically, AZ tweeted back at him, "Are you for real?" Mm-hmm. And basically,
I mean, because it's funny, it's absurd.
It is. It's kind of like the irony was not lost on Black Twitter, Asian Twitter, people of color on Twitter. But one of the problems was what they weren't ready for was basically Finn responding to her. So he comes back and he says, yes, I'm absolutely for real. And even though Danny, and you also have to realize something, a little bit more backstory. AZ, as well as other people of Asian descent, I told you she's Singaporean, but you've also probably heard Nerds of Color, and had a really big campaign. They started the hashtag Asian American Iron Fist, AA Iron Fist. Mm-hmm. So she's been part of that campaign also. So basically, what happened is the conversation went into Finn Jones trying to explain to her, and this is Cliff's Notes basically, even though Danny Rand is white, and he did remain true to the source material, the show incorporates and celebrates actors from all different backgrounds, and it's, they're all really diverse, and even though, and you have to, you should accept this as a good thing. Don't look at Iron Fist, Danny Rand, because he's really, really flawed. All the people who are diverse and all the women basically in this story are the ones that are really holding him up, and they're really amazing. So let's talk. I was like, no, that's not good. You're basically saying we're all holding you up. This is a problem. So she was saying you do see why Danny Rand being white is a problem, right? And
He's like the worst magician ever. He's like, here, look at my other hand.
Exactly. Well, the funny thing is, it was not mean-spirited. He was not being mean. He was not being rude. He honestly was trying to have a dialogue with her, but she was getting frustrated because she was like, you don't understand the bigger problem, which is making Danny Rand Asian isn't going to help. Sorry. She was saying, I'm sorry. He felt that making Danny Rand Asian would change his character. And here's the other thing that a lot of people are missing. Most people who were really proponents of Danny Rand being Asian wanted him to be Asian American. And there's a reason for that. And here's the thing.
There's so much nuance beneath that you can get into storytelling. Because you can be an outsider in both worlds.
Exactly. It would be, think of the different kind of story if Black Panther was actually adopted and he grew up on Crenshaw and all of a sudden was snatched up and said, "You're the king of Wakanda," and was brought out to Wakanda, that's a whole different story.
Oh my God, I have to write that now.
But that's essentially what they were saying. Like, so many Asian Americans have sorry, my mic is doing weird things, have lost touch with their culture, or really in touch with their roots. And it would really be awesome because basically, getting back to the article, after they basically agreed to disagree, and then all of a sudden he disappeared from Twitter. The other thing that was
for like a day or something, because he wasn't going that long. For 24 hours, and everybody lost their minds. They're like, "Oh my God, all of these social justice warriors kicked Finn Jones off of Twitter," and they really were going in for her. And I don't know, just something in my gut. I don't know. He was treated with like baby gloves. I mean, seriously.
Thank you. So, and that was something else.
Come harder at you and Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you. And I actually put a link to an article about what happened to Leslie Jones. In case people needed reference. I'm like, this is what harassment, this is what harassment looks like. What happened to Finn Jones was not harassment. So basically what I did was I took it upon myself to reach out to her and ask her, listen, before CBR spells your name wrong, because they will. Let me just do a little post and I'll put it on Medium. I'm not gonna, if I might be able to get it on Mary Sue, I don't know, but what I usually contribute to Mary Sue was shorter, so I decided to just make it longer and put it on Medium. And she agreed, and she gave me a quote, but the poor thing has been basically dragged up and down Twitter all week. So I've been trying to send her like nice tweets and stuff. But if you look, there's some other people that are quoted in the story also. One of them is Sean Lau, who has a podcast called No Totally.
He goes off.
Yes, he's Chinese American. He goes off. He's hilarious. But he pointed out there's a whole nother article that there's a whole nother rant that Jones went on that was in an interview. And he basically said, when he was confronted with diversity again, and he was saying that that Iron Fist is actually a feminist television show. The female characters are strong. They're incredibly unique. You have all of this diversity, like Colleen and Claire Temple and Rosario Dawson, and you've got Madame Gao, and you've got all these great people, and they're strong, and all the men in our show are falling apart, so they need these women to hold them up. So this is really a feminist show. And it's like, no, that's not what... So here's the thing. Basically, what I think happened is that, because I honestly don't think Finn Jones left Twitter. Even though that's the story he came back and told, I think either his publicist or Marvel's publicist were like, that's enough, and shut it down, because it was spiraling out of control, because he hadn't been prepped. Like, if you're going to do any type of press in a situation that is, and you're not going to handle it like a Republican, you're going to be well informed, and you're going to have talking points, and you're going to be able to keep it on track. He really was missing it. And I'm not saying he was missing it because he was being mean. He was missing it literally because he's so privileged, he's never had to see it before. But
he was inconvenienced. And he was like, why you inconvenience me? I got a movie coming out. This was the whole, and so I think what happened was, and Marvel's better at this than DC. Whether Marvel will admit it or not, they have a finger on the pulse of social media.
They do.
I remember when, I don't know if it was Jamie or if it was somebody else that tweeted out like a few months back, can anybody name any Black women writers at Marvel? And nobody said anything. I mean, everybody was like, an excursion. Everybody was, doing dives into the archives. And I think they might have found one or two. But then a couple of days later, Marvel announced that Roxane Gay is writing,
Well, what's interesting about that is I had written a really extensive article about that. That was my repost.
All right, was that you?
That was me. And at the end of that, one of the things I was talking about was, it's fine, Riri's great, but why can't you find any Black women to write this? And at the end of the article, I said, and if you're looking for some Black female writers, I have some. Because one of the things I try to do, I work really hard at this, and a lot of people don't realize this, which is why sometimes my posts don't come out as fast, is that I try to do a lot of research, and I try to make sure that instead of just bringing up a problem, I have a solution. Mm-hmm. So even though they were perfectly capable of doing this research, I literally provided like over 50 names of Black women who have written comic books, web comics, as well as just sequential stories. And it's funny because I had a lot of people say, like, why didn't you name this person? And why didn't you name that person? And they were writers that hadn't written comic books, and I didn't want to get that excuse back. So yeah, and I found out later that Marvel definitely saw that post. But they had already, not only did they announce Roxanne Gay, it was a very, very strange.
It was a rollout because they did announce the Black woman artist. She's been on BlackComicsChat.
Yeah, you talking about Yona Harvey? Oh, you're talking about Afua Richardson?
Yeah, Afua Richardson, right?
Yes, mm-hmm. Afua was doing the color, and Aletha Martinez is doing the line art. And yeah, and that wasn't the only thing that was strange about that. Because a few months later, and I wrote a post about this too, because me, right. But basically there's a annual that they do I don't know if you know about Marvel Infinite Comics. That's their subscriber service. So you can basically sign up, pay a subscription fee, and every month you get a comic. So excuse me. It's called Year of Marvels. And the September Year of Marvels was written by Nyla Magruder. So Year of Marvels dropped in September, and World of Wakanda didn't drop to the end of the year, which means Nyla Magruder is actually the first Black woman to write for Marvel. They knew that. They had, because literally they don't just come up with comic books.
No, they don't.
They're a year out. They plan these things.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna get some water. Sorry, I'm like choking over here.
Spitting out too much knowledge.
Not enough oxygen. So yeah, it's just this really strange thing. It's funny because when I met people from Marvel, like at New York Comic Con, I met a lot of people. I met Axel Alonso. And they're all very cordial. No one, he's like, listen, we're really working hard on diversity. I like the work that you're doing. I really appreciate it. He wasn't yelling at me. They know. And the other thing that I tell people all the time is, if Black Twitter got paid for our tweets, oh my God. Because one of the things that happens is writers at these outlets don't have that much time to do research. So they're going through Twitter, checking hashtags. Oh, there's somebody who can give me a quote. Instead of asking for a quote, they're just grabbing stuff off of Twitter. I have a Google alert out anytime anybody uses like the Blur Girl in my name. I can't tell you how many times in the past 6 months people just use my stuff.
I should do that, although I don't think it'd be worth it. Never mind.
No, but I just mean not just me, but anybody. Like, you could literally, I bet you somebody looks at BlackComicsChat's tweets, like whenever you guys have a show, and looks to see anything interesting to write about, because people's deadlines are too quick now. But yeah, it's all, just getting back really quick to the whole Danny Rand thing. It turned into this really crazy thing. People were getting dragged. I mean, I got all kinds of crazy, I block people daily. I lean on my block button. Usually first thing in the morning, the first half hour of my day is usually blocking a bunch of people.
Are you serious? Is it that bad?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it can get bad, especially on weeks like that I drop something like this. Yeah, it can get very bad. Call me all kinds of names. I got called a black splainer most of the week, which fine.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, because I said Finn Jones was white splaining. So like, well, you must be black splaining since you're black. I'm like, yeah, okay. You didn't read the article, but nice try. And it's funny because I had a couple people read the article and comment that were like, I don't understand what the problem is. Her article is probably like literally, I didn't really form that much of opinion in the article. I really just wanted to get the facts out there. And the only opinion that I formed was the fact that I felt Louis Tan, who's playing Zhu Shang, should have been Danny Rand.
Everybody felt that.
Yeah, exactly.
Felt that. Yeah.
But the only thing I maintain is that it is just simply not possible for a group of people who do not include an ethnic group in their writer's room or in their decision making. You just cannot ask a group of people who don't represent the ethnic minority that they're writing about to create a character that will be acceptable to that ethnic group. So
and you can tell.
It's really obvious. And so it's just really strange. And so but it's funny because I approach everybody with respect, even the haters. There's a couple of people that hit me up on Twitter like, I think that you were wrong or whatever. And I'm like, well, I disagree. And, but I understand your point. I just don't happen to agree with it. And sometimes they don't know what to do with that because they're ready for a fight. And I'm like, I'm not going to fight you. And I literally had one guy say to me, he's like, you know what? I read the article. I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I respect you for writing it. And I'm like, okay, thank you. I didn't need that, but thank you.
Everybody's a critic.
I got for writing a thing. I got some stat for writing a Harry Potter article last week.
Yeah, I mean, you know who else gets it is Thaddeus. Thaddeus Howes catches it. He's very good at deflecting, though. He's very good at it. Oh my God, you got to read Medium. A lot of the stuff happens on Medium. Not just on Twitter because it's longer than 140 characters.
Oh, okay.
But I think that the biggest thing that I got hit with not just by white folks, white, black, and Asian, everybody this week asked me, why do you care? You're not Asian. And that just baffles me because I'm like, the whole concept of, and I've said this before, the whole concept of Oscars So White had nothing to unfortunately turned into about black actors. But that's actually not what it was about. It was about Oscars not having enough of all of the different.
It was lack of inclusion.
It was lack of inclusion. But unfortunately now it's like, look, we have black people. Look, all these black people won Oscars. So Oscars So White doesn't mean anything anymore. No, that's not how this works. And even though there are people, like I had a great conversation I just mentioned with Sean Lau about Get Out, which we won't spoil for you, Thelonious. Ladies and gentlemen, Thelonious is the last person on the planet to see this movie. And that's usually me.
I was it this weekend.
Yeah,
But yeah, you need to see it, right, Naseed?
Yes, he does.
So it's powerful. You saw it too, bro?
Yes, I saw it out. Initially when I saw the previews for it months ago, I didn't want to see the movie, and then it wasn't until I heard what it was somewhat about, I said, "Oh, hold up, what did they? Maybe I do need to see this movie." And
I wasn't going to see it either because I'm not a fan of horror or gore porn. But that's not what this is. It's a psychological thriller.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there is some gore involved, trust me, but it's not like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's not like.
So I wanted my wife to go. She was like, "Yeah, I don't do horror." And so then my daughter, who's turning 16 tomorrow, she's like, "Let's go see Get Out." And so me and my daughter was going to go as like a father-daughter a date thing. And then my other daughter was like, "Well, I'm coming." And now my wife was like, "Well, actually, maybe I do want to see it." So
yeah,
but
you
the youngest
have
doesn't
to
want to see it. Yeah.
Well, how old is your youngest?
She's 12.
Nah, I don't know, Naseed. What do you think?
12
she
is
doesn't-
iffy. It depends on how mature she is, I guess.
No, she's
Or,
she's not ready. She doesn't do. She covers her eyes for scary commercials. So.
Okay, no. Then she shouldn't do that. She shouldn't do it then. But it really is good, and I really am curious to hear what you think, Thelonious, because and I'm not spoiling it, but I've talked to brothers. Every single black man that I've spoken to that's seen it has been like, that's been me. That's happened to me, or this has happened to me, or that's happened to me.
So do you have to happen to date a white girl for this to happen to you? Because I got my brother.
No. This is about being. You're funny. This is about being in a room. This is about think about going to work with a whole bunch of white people and how you have to shift and code shift for them.
Yeah. That happens. And
all the time.
Go from the yes. I mean, we're always the minority, and then of course with black women, you definitely. Oh, before we shout out to the Blurb Girl, who's going to be hosting the Black Women in Comics panel next week at the Khemfest. Yeah, she's going to be doing. She has a powerful lineup. She organized that thing, and it's definitely powerful. And then Happy Women's Month to everyone out there who's listening. And I just got put on because I'm on the other end of the spectrum, of independence, Women's Independence Day. So I just got put on to that. That was earlier this week, so I just got educated on that, and I'm gonna let the world know that I didn't know about that. But my coworkers and some other people knew.
Fine. It's fine. Honestly, most black women didn't co-sign on it, but it International Women's Month we all co-sign on. Mm-hmm. But the day without women, nah. Because look, the way I look at it is this. White women have been staying home and not working for years, and we've been taking care of their kids and everything else. So I mean, so I don't want to get into a feminism, a white feminism, and intersectionality because, for one, I don't know enough about it. But that's a different show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
a whole different show.
Yes, I thought this was a Black Comics Chat. What was they talking about? But after the results, the exit polls came out from the election, and a majority of white women voted for Trump. After all the things that he said, I'm just like, don't talk to me about feminism and Lena Dunham and all this other. When I see sisters holding down,
it's voting, honestly, you need to see Get Out. Honestly, you just need to see.
You got to get out to get out, because that's what you need to do.
Okay, all right, we're gonna see it Sunday.
Because honestly, some of that is covered there. It's just sort of like it has less to do. And this isn't the movie. I just mean some of what you're talking about. But it has less to do with And even though a lot of people, and that's what the argument is right now, like who's liberal and who isn't. Honestly, those are not the important line. Like while everybody's arguing over who's liberal, who's Republican, who's who wiretapped who, while that song and dance is going on, they're making major changes in government right now, taking away large amounts of rights. Like I'm literally trying to figure out, like I had this conversation with my brothers a couple of days ago, like we can pool our money in case we have to physically out of pocket pay for our mothers 2 years, because they are literally going to make senior citizens pay like a G a month for insurance.
Yeah, they are.
And anybody on a fixed income or Social Security,
Yeah.
So even though like a lot, and I'm torn because marching is important, but you know what? Someone's trying to make sure that I have all of my health stuff taken care of this year before they rip the hell out of the insurance, because I know this time next year they're gonna go back to the whole condition, the whole 9 yards. They're gonna just rip the whole thing to pieces. And you are independent contractors and own health insurance, we're going to get hit the worst.
Yeah, and I used to be a consultant. I used to have my own consulting business, and insurance. This was before Obamacare, and insurance was one of the biggest expenditures I had. So
Yep.
and we're going back there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what cats voted for. And again, I don't want to get too political. This is Black Comics Chat. I keep saying that, but then I keep getting political. So
let's get back to what's going to be happening at Khemfest, because
let's talk about that.
Don't just come out to see my panel. There's going to be more stuff going on.
So let's talk about some more panels. Let's talk about how big do you want this thing to grow? What's some of the biggest guests that you've had that you've reached out to, and where are you taking it from here?
Well, a couple of things actually happened with Khemfest. We actually reached out to Michael Call to be a part of some of the Luke Cage panels. He was fortunately he was busy during this time. He's actually doing a photo shoot, so shout out to him. But we did invite him accordingly. We actually have a bunch of members from the Luke Cage TV series who are actually behind the scenes, as well as the stuntmen. We have visual. Yeah, we have the visual artist, Gregory Anderson, who's going to be a part of it. We have a martial arts instructor who also was a stunt guy.
And just real quick, Gregory Anderson. A lot of people don't know about him, but I've actually known Greg for a while. He works for a company called Fuse Effects, and Greg was a lead animator on his team. Did lead animation on Luke Cage. So like when he punched the guy and the hand crumpled and all that kind of stuff. When he punched Luke in the face and the guy's hand crumpled,
that was one of the best scenes.
That was him doing that animation when the building blew up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was him doing the animation. Like Gregory is one of the most laid back and unassuming guys you ever want to meet. But if you see his resume,
it's powerful. It's powerful.
Oh my God, yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's powerful.
And everything like Spider-Man, a bunch of Marvel movies, animation, and there's not that many. He's that dope, and I actually got a chance to work with him in my day job. Editing and stuff, and it's really, really funny because he and I have even had conversations about.
Are you a film editor in the daytime?
I edit commercials and promos. So like commercials for products, and I can tweet out my link. I never really talk about it when I talk about comics, but and also promos. So like I'll do work for like Discovery or FX, or so like if there's a movie coming on this week and it's like an FX world broadcast premiere of all those kind of commercials, I do a lot of those.
My goodness, that's man, we big comic chat is big time. Big time. We got the top guests. You won't hear this anyplace else, folks.
But the Luke Cage thing is really fascinating to me because there's so many people that I keep meeting who, like everybody Black I meet that is a stunt person or an actor seems to have been on Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, The Defenders, or Iron Fist. Like they're just hiring all the Black. There's not that many of us, so they're just hiring all of them.
And I think that's why these movies are so important, and that's why it's important to have different voices at the writers' table, behind the camera, because when you talk about inclusion, it's just not having one Black face in front of the camera.
Cheo Hadari Coker did a really good job with that. And just everybody, his prop team, everybody, like there were people that they said their rap party was a party.
Yeah. Because
they were like, we have never seen this many Black people on a crew before, ever. And that's sad.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's one of the things that we try to highlight at the Khemfest is all of these different opportunities for Black people that we don't even know nothing about. Because one of the things, like how do you become a stuntman? You know,
Right.
how would you get into special effects, or because everyone sees the stuff in front of the camera, but we never really know about a lot of the stuff that's behind the camera that you can do that are well-paying careers, and and it's not a lot of things as far a lot of barriers as far as entry and everything. So
And
that's
honestly,
what
what you're doing is absolutely right, because I didn't know anything about editing when I went to school. I went to college for film, and I learned that the editing and stuff in school. But even when I graduated, I didn't want to edit. I wanted to direct, and then I realized that I wanted to eat, and it was like, oh, okay. And I made the decision to be an editor because it was like, even when there's not enough money to go into production, something always needs to be edited or re-edited. That was what I built. That's what I built my career on, because I felt it was in the production world. For me, it was the most stable thing, I felt. And because as a Black girl who's the only one in my family doing anything, then my family to this day can't describe what I do. Like, my mother still thinks that the commercials that I do the shows that come on after the commercial too. So if one of my spots runs on the air, she'll start talking to me about the show that it's on. And I'm like, no, mommy, I didn't do the show. I just did the commercial. Like I can't describe to half my family what I do. And I think it's amazing that these kids are going to have an opportunity to see that. And I'm happy that it's for kids, because I've been going, to a lot of conventions where it's like, people are like, is there anything here my kids can see?
Yep. I mean, definitely the training grounds for all of this stuff.
Definitely. Well, peeps, it's been we over an hour. So I want to give you guys a chance to say a little bit more about yourself, what you do, where they can find you, your links, your products, your brand. And I know both of you guys are going to be in the fest next week. So let's start with that, and we'll start with you, Naseed, and we'll close out with the Blurred Girl.
Okay. Well, next week we of course have the Chem Comic Fest. Is going to be on March 18th. It's going to be taking place at Central High School in Newark, New Jersey. You can go to or http://chemfest.com and hashtag Khemfest. We're going to have a plethora of activities for the entire family, and we're here to just pretty much provide opportunities for our children and our people so they can meet people of color, artists of color, and actually get into things that go far beyond what they actually see on a normal everyday. You can reach me at PB Soldier. That's PBSOLDIER. My name is Naseed Gifted, and it's been a pleasure being on here with the likes of the greatness of you two.
I'm blushing.
Every time when I search the internet, I always see something from BlackComicsChat, and I definitely see stuff from the Blurred Girl. So for me to be on here is definitely an excellent opportunity, and I'm just humbled to be a part of it.
Hey, brother. Well, I want to thank you for coming. I definitely want to get a copy of when your print comes out.
Yes.
To have you back, and we wouldn't mind doing a giveaway with you, if you would. Mind.
Definitely. Yeah, I would love to do that. I would definitely love to do that.
So that maybe we could have like a giveaway just show where we have like some of our favorite guests give away signed copies of they think we do a raffle or whatever. That'd be dope. But definitely got to have you back, man. Definitely want to hear how Khemfest goes. Definitely want to hear how your comic book is going. So reach out to us when you're ready to spit. You got something else to share?
No, I mean that's pretty much it. Definitely check out Khemfest next week, and definitely look at PB Soldier. We're making traction, and everything is because of the fan base. Everything we've been able to do is because we have the support of the people, and I very much appreciate that.
Blurred Girl.
Hey, well, I'm like I said, I'm gonna be March 18th in Newark at Central High School at Khemfest, and my panel is Women in Comics. I will have Regine Sawyer of Women in Comics, who's her fest is the following weekend. Micheline Hess of Ovenlands, Shauna Grant of Princess Love Pond, and Ariel Johnson of Amalgam Comics and Coffee. They'll all be on my panel, and we'll all be talking about characters of color and what it's like being a Blur girl in this mostly male-dominated sphere. But we want to let some of the girls in the audience see that it's okay to be a geek girl too, you know. And then the following weekend on the 25th, I'll be up at WinCon, Women in Comics Convention, run by Regine Sawyer on March 25th at the Bronx Public Library. And you can check me out basically at The Blurred Girl everywhere. TheBlerdGurl, theblurredgirl.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Tumblr, YouTube. If it's got a screen, I'm probably on it. And I'm definitely kicking up my my Instagram stories and my Snapchats and stuff like that. We might be doing a little bit of Facebook Live from Khemfest, so you never know. So definitely check it out.
Definitely hit Black Comics Chat up for that. We definitely want to promote that and so give you guys kind of a bigger platform to do what you do, because I definitely want to hear more about Khemfest as far as how it goes off this year. This is the third year. I know you've doubled pretty much your audience size from the first year, so we're hoping big things for the both of you guys.
Thank you so much, and thanks for inviting me.
Hey,
yeah, thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. It was educational for me. Hopefully it was educational for the audience. Blurred Girl, you know, we're gonna have you back soon as you could work us in. And Naseed Gifted, I just want to have you back just so I can keep saying that name.
Say your name.
Well, I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? You got it right the first time, though. You know,
got it right.
Like I said, most people think it's Gibson or something else other than Gifted.
No, when you say Gifted, I was like, did you say Gifted? All right, now. So again, thank you guys for coming out. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back with the rest of the crew, you know, in 2 weeks. And until then, enjoy your weekend and go see Get Out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Get Out to see Get Out.
Lotus, I'm gonna find you. I gotta hear what you think, man.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to. So if don't nobody go but me and my daughter, we're gonna go because we're not waiting. So,
all right.
And I'll hit you up. I'll DM you when I get back after I see you.
Okay.
All right. Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night,
Take
guys.
Care. Peace.